strategic effects. Missiles that can be guided on the battlefield have only been available since the latter part of the Second World War. The ATGM was originally introduced into service to replace the towed anti-tank guns that had become increasingly heavy and cumbersome and were unable to defeat the heavy armor of main battle tanks. As regards to anti-tank missiles, the Germans were the first to develop their air-launched XH-7 anti-tank missile, fielded just before the end of the war. Serious development in this field was taken up in the 50s, when it was appreciated that the three major attributes of this weapon system, that is precision, lethality, and standoff, need to be exploited in any future battlefield. It was the exploitation of this triad characteristics that they were able to also produce and get a cost-effective weapon system. The operational need. No equipment is ever produced without an identified need, and this need is derived from the operational requirement. Operational requirement is based on the doctrine of an army, which is effectively its blueprint for battle, and on an operational analysis, which is an analysis of the likely battlefield that they are to encounter, and the enemies and their own capability. For the ATGM, the strategy is generally based on the ATGM systems with overlapping ranges meshed with the other weapon systems organic to a battle group, operating within its area of interest. The overlap of ranges must ensure that all ranges within the area of interest are addressed by a variety of launch platforms. The operational requirement of an ATGM directs us to look at three areas: the target, the operator, and the battlefield. Firstly, the target. Originally, the main target was the tank. However, now missiles are also designed to engage secondary targets, thereby adding to their versatility. The prime target being the tank and other armored vehicles, whose armored protection has vastly improved to approximately 1,000 millimeter of rolled homogeneous armor. In addition, explosive reactive armor has been added to defeat the chemical energy projectiles. To compound matters, tanks and ICVs are now protected by the defense aid suits. The defense aid suit could either be for a soft kill, which aims at defeating the missile electro-optically, or a hard kill, which physically destroys an incoming missile. Generations of ATGMs. To this august gathering, it would be presumptuous of me to define the generations of ATGMs. But for the sake of uniformity of discussion, as you would be aware, the first generation had the manual command to line of sight guidance system. The second generation, by contrast, featured a semi-automatic command to line of sight guidance. Most missiles of this generation also had a tandem warhead. The third generation was a quantum jump and is in the fire and forget capability and the ability to have a top attack. A fourth generation, the newest in the block, is to have the ability to fire, observe, and update, thereby enabling the operator to lock on to the target after launch. If the target is not in the line of sight of the operator, also to switch targets or compensate for any unusual movement of the target. A word about countermeasures. The battle between the armor and the shot is ongoing. For every enhancement in the capability of the shot, a countermeasure is already on the drawing board or under trials. Hence, there is a need to be pragmatic while choosing the method of guidance, for one countermeasure should not affect the entire family of missiles. There is, therefore, a requirement of redundancy. Logistics. In an ideal system, we want a missile that can be manufactured as a round of ammunition, can be stored for its complete shelf life, say 20 years, with no or little maintenance. To achieve this requires both the use of subsystems that do not degrade with time and a control on the environment in which it is stored. The use of stable chemicals in the propellant, warhead and batteries, and the avoidance of moving parts that do not jam
the entire spectrum of warfare. The guided missiles span both the strategic and the tactical domain. Today, in this seminar, we will be discussing more on the tactical aspects of the anti-tank guided weapons. Our own integrated guided missile development program has done pretty well, but there is a need for us to look more closely at the domain which is the focus of this seminar. We need to have a system which can be utilized from various platforms, be it the shoulder of an infantryman or the armored fighting vehicles or the helicopter. And this entire family needs to be looked at very closely, because a standardization, as was alluded to by the Director General of Mechanized Forces, gives great advantages in various fields. And if we can standardize the various components which can take on the types of various platforms that would be utilized, it will give us great gains in the type of systems that can be utilized. We also need to take into account the type of countermeasures that are already in place or are on the drawing board, because every new technology which comes up to enhance the effectiveness also gives rise to a technology that looks at the countermeasures to it. And therefore, whatever technology we look at must ensure that we tread that fine line where we have the advantage of using the systems. It is important for the indigenous industry to take on whatever is happening in the world and then exploit the niche that it has carved for itself. The Indian industry has come of age, and I'm quite certain, in fact I'm very confident, that they can attain a great deal of work which is available or which can be garnered by them in terms of the requirements of the armed forces. In this regard, whatever is happening in this seminar in terms of engagement of the Indian industry is laudable. We are also aware that the industry is taking active part in development of our future main battle tank, future family of combat vehicles, on which would also be mounted the guided missiles which would give us pinpoint accuracy to attain the required kill potential. And therefore, there lies the importance of this seminar, which will throw up ideas, throw up various features, throw up initiatives which can ensure that the Indian industry can imbibe these to develop what the armed forces want. This seminar, I'm sure, will present an opportunity to further strengthen the bonds between the industry and the armed forces, and I'm quite sure it will be a great success. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much indeed for that very special and very informative special address.